Hello and welcome to Young Turks Reloaded. I'm Shereen Bhan. My guests on the show today have been on Young Turks over a decade ago, and a lot has changed since then. They have both decided now to venture into new initiatives and take forward their entrepreneurial aspirations and entrepreneurial zeal to something new and different. Joining me on the program to talk about being an entrepreneur, being a serial entrepreneur, having the ambition without any apology is Naiyya Saggi and Mayank Kumar at UpGrad. Naiyya and Mayank, many thanks for joining us here. As I pointed out, a lot has changed in the last 10 years. So let's start with where we are in 2024. Naiyya, I'll start by talking to you. BabyChakra to your venture with Darpan at MyGlam, and now, this new venture that you've decided to do. What is this about, and where does the drive and the energy to start up all over again come from?
Shereen, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I was telling you before we started rolling that, you've been part of our journey from the very beginning. So the new venture is actually something that's been on my mind for many, many months now. And it comes from the ambition that we as entrepreneurs building in India today have, which is to build globally defining brands from India for the world. And that's really the root of this venture. It also leverages India's strength in manufacturing, especially in consumer electronics. So to cut a long story short, we're building a new age consumer appliances brand from India to the US. But the way we're looking at appliances is the completely fresh lens of saying, can we look at appliances that power our lives daily from a lens of hardware and software intersecting and really build a design-led, intuitive, intelligent experience for the world?
So this is pretty audacious because we don't have globally relevant Indian brands, especially not from the manufacturing space in India. Why do you believe that you can take a shot at this and make it go?
So, two reasons, right? One is that we are, today creatures of the world. I've had the privilege of studying and building and living in the US. That is my second home. I'm familiar with global markets. We launched, of course, with Good Glam as well, and the Serena joint venture. We launched a mainstream US beauty brand. So the US, the world, I think the whole sort of journey of brand building is not alien to us.
But it's also one of the hardest markets to get into and compete in.
I think it's actually a little bit, I won't debate that it's not hard, but it's actually a really interesting market because it's a very product-led growth market. So if you find the right product that is needed for that consumer, and, I'm a creature of brand and product. I've always been a very product-oriented person, but if you find the right product that really is a latent need and is a gap in that space, the market is so big, it has tailwinds of its own. And the other thing, the second piece to this is that, interestingly enough, unlike India, the channels are actually very well established in the US. And the channels I talk about are online. So in my particular industry that I'm venturing into, 55% of small appliances are actually already sold online in the US through Amazon and your brand.com, right? And the channel that's offline is also super well established, like your Walmart, your big box retailers like Costco, your Best Buys, etc. So it's actually not as disorganized as India is, interestingly. And that really is a very interesting part for us as founders to look at, analyze, and understand where we have a right to win with our networks and with the products that we're bringing to market.
Okay, I'm going to come back to this in just a second, and I want to understand more from you about this latest venture. And I know that's something that both of you believe in, that it's important not to be better, but it's important to be different. So I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second. But Mayank, let's talk about you. And, again, the similarities between what you're attempting to do. You're also now trying to build out a global business.
Yeah, no, I think you said something. In 10 years, a lot changes.
Yes.
But I think you never change. I think we have been sort of speaking to you.
I wish
think
that were true.
Yeah, that's that's something that remains constant. But anyways, on that note, look, I think last 10 years I've been building UpGrad, and that's where we built a platform to train people in AI, machine learning, skilling, reskilling, lifelong learning, etc. So a lot of what we were doing, Shereen, there was on the white collar space. So people who are in the white collar ecosystem. And one of the things that I wanted to do and I was passionate about was how can I take my learning there into a slightly more bluish and gray collar ecosystem? And I think in that process, I felt one of the biggest thing is India's only natural resource that we have is our people. We don't have coal, we don't have oil, we don't have minerals, sand. And how do we build on top of people? And therefore the thought was, look, we are the youngest population. Our average age is about 30 years right now. Japan is at 50, Germany is at 47, US is at 40 right now. How do we take Indian talent, train them, provide them the finishing school, and deploy them internationally Partly because in India, blue collar and gray collar, you can't monetize enough because the starting salaries are 15,000, 20,000 rupees a month. But the moment they get deployed internationally, their salaries go to about 3 lakh, 4 lakh rupees a month. So for that was a thought process. I think in the process, you solve for the problem that the developed economies are facing in terms of skill manpower. You solve for employment in India, and you solve for better quality of life for those individuals because now they can go and earn a higher amount of money. While on a macro front, it all looks good.
Yeah,
At the micro
exactly.
level, it's very, very poor.
And that's exactly what I was going to come to, because at the macro front, as you pointed out, I mean, these are challenging, large, complex problems that require solutions, and they require solutions now. But, you're dealing with visa issues, you're dealing with immigration issues. Even if there is a need and a desire, you're up against, the lack of political will and political capital in many parts of the world at this point in
Absolutely.
time to be able to get that talent across. So what has that experience been like for you, building a business to deal with all of the regulatory challenges?
As entrepreneurs from India who are building for the world, you have to find that real play around policy arbitrage or cost arbitrage or people arbitrage. And I feel here, if you look at all the countries who have said, no, I don't want these people in, except technology and healthcare. So they always put that except bit where talent is absolutely needed. And I think the first area that we are starting with is healthcare and taking Indian nurses and talent pool and deploying them internationally. And I think there's a very strong mandate by the government in India to look for global. So I'll give you one statistic. India has about 35 million Indians living abroad. That number would make Indian diaspora maybe the 20th or 30th largest country. And Indian diaspora is sending about $125 billion worth of remittance back to India. Our total oil import bill is about $150 billion.
Yeah.
So I think in some way government is going to push for it. And internationally, the ecosystem won't have, you will see some right wing, some left wing, and that sort of flow happening. But we have to provide the talent internationally. Otherwise, there's no other option that they have right now.
I'll come to how you're building this out in a second, but it's something very interesting that you pointed out over there, and I want to come to you with that, Naiyya. I think one of the lessons of entrepreneurship is to look at the asterisks, to look at the caveats and to look at the white spaces that you can focus on to build your business. Through the experience of BabyChakra, Good Glam, and now this latest venture. By the way, what is it called?
It's called Edition. So let me tell you a bit about the brand as well. So I woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning and I knew I had the brand name.
Why 3 a.m.?
I can't sleep,
Is that typically when you wake up?
I think, as entrepreneurs, and I think we'll all relate, and you will relate as well. Like, when you're obsessed with what you're building, your sleep seems like a waste of time. So I woke up at 3 a.m. and I was like, I have the name. It's Edition. And the reason, because, I loved Edition, was because for someone who's design forward, it brings to mind limited edition drops.
Right.
But the short form for Edition is EDT, which actually stands for Electronic Design Technology in geeky lingo. So folks who are really into technology, like us, we really love that too. So
Are you a tech geek?
I have been. I mean, I've been obsessed. I mean, we were doing machine learning in BabyChakra when we didn't even know what we were doing, right? We were creating surreptitious journeys, looking at cohorts of mothers and figuring out like how do you parse that data to make it more relevant for people who were using our product at that point in time. So all product-led growth, viral cycles, referral cycles, but all powered by data and by analytics.
So the asterisk that Edition is hoping to capture on.
So there are two pieces to this, right? One is that there's a global shift, right, which is moving away from China as a source of supply, especially in small appliances. China today powers 95% of small appliances supply in the world, right? And if you look at what's happening in the US and equally what's happening in India, everybody, including the big box retailers, your sort of online retailers, the government, of course, we're all saying, how do we move away from having this dependency on China? And in parallel, if you look at the EMS, the Electronic Manufacturing Services industry in India, which is already at $100 billion and poised to be $400 billion in the next couple of years, that industry is thriving now. It's finally found its feet, right? And it's doing PCB boards, it's doing like smartphones. And there's a, very interesting sort of cycle around that, which is also around appliances, which has always been there, but it's now getting like more power and more sort of boost with becoming smarter, more connected devices and, bringing in new technologies. So that is really, I mean, to Mayank's point as well, as entrepreneurs, I think our job is to connect the dots, right? You kind of see a very fragmented market with legacy brands like Hamilton Beach, a KitchenAid, a Cuisine Art. Like, where is the brand resonance with a generation of today in the US or with anybody, right?
Yeah,
For
you
that
got
matter.
Dyson and a whole
But
bunch
Dyson
of
is super
yeah.
premium, and
Yeah.
you're right. And I think that's the beauty of the space. Dyson and Smeg set aspirations. So today, in a very DIY culture like the US, appliance and very content consuming culture where you have Reddit groups and you have Wirecutter, etc., on social media, on TikTok and Insta, aspiration is around appliances finally, set. And but people are looking at them and they're saying, but you know what? Like, I'm corded. I'm a person on the move. I'm a generation on the move. But my life is corded to the walls with my electric kettle, right? My appliances are dumb. I'm living agentic, in my daily life. But my appliances are dumb. Like, we have to reimagine. Like, people are like inspired by visuals of homes, and you have the same black, white, gray plastic. I mean, it's so simple, and it just feels like once you see these trends, right, in consumer demand, you see like the channel demand, and you see like sort of the industry, booming. As an entrepreneur, when you see this problem, you just can't unsee it. You connect the dots, you're like, and who can solve this? Someone who has experience in all of these, pieces and bringing it together. And that's me, Shereen.
There you go. Clearly, you have positioned yourself as the answer to this challenge and this problem.